What's up, my babies? How are we doing today? Ugh, entertainment of the night. Today's video is exceptionally awkward. I'm not sure, but let's see if we can decipher this together. I'm going to read some. Designing the code based on everything versus designing everything based on the code. The early days of computers were built on logic, and stage two will be reviewed. Ah, all right. So maybe I fucked up with this example. I also read somewhere like I shouldn't cuss the first minute and a half if I want to do anything on YouTube with the video. But so I mentioned coding a couple of times with the videos that I have, and I'm sure everyone who's been like following like all 300 of them. I'm joking. But anyway, so uh, the concept of computer science is basically the logic behind how to do things. Like ultimately, if I want to hold this cup, I literally have to like from where I am, I have to lift my hand up, move it forward, move it to the right, close my fingers, and each one of these fingers has a different functionality. Like it goes up, goes down, goes up, all these things. So it really has to kind of like every single movement that our body does naturally. That basically is translated to code for computers to understand. And it becomes our actual creative mind that allows the computer to kind of like that instructs the computer to do these things. But I was thinking about it the day I wrote this. I remember I was like thinking about society, and I was thinking about society and how society has been basically compiling on top of itself, right? Because like we reach to a point and then we build, and we reach to a point and we build, and reach to a point and then we build. Now it's fucked up because over the years, the people that tried to kind of like deviate from this society to build something on their own have always been attacked by this society. It kind of feels like there's a conspiracy going on. Anyways, going back to this video. Designing the code based on everything versus designing everything based on the code. And that's something that I think we're having problems with these days. Because these days, we're not creating something with what we can do, we're creating based on what we have in front of us. It's like our scope is limited. So what we do effectively is we take this limitation and kind of like try to free ourselves out of it. But effectively, and if you are to think about this, like one person having a garden and just planting more stuff vertically instead of expanding their space. Instead of getting more land and planting more stuff on the land, they kind of try to utilize as best as they can the small piece of land that they have. And on top of all of that, like the inefficiencies of human beings, so we're kind of like, I really would love, I want to say the retardation of human beings. Because ultimately, we're not building on top of the efficient shit. We're not building on the shit that makes sense. We're just building on the shit that is popular. Popular. But again, in the world, all the songs that have been popular the past fucking 60 plus years have had the same four chords. Why? Because they're easily understandable. You don't have to understand music in order for you to get it. And a lot of people kind of like have that same catchy notes playing around each other. So what they do is they kind of like feel nice for some fucking reason. It's because nostalgia is playing with your mind. And the new song doesn't really sound different. It has the same shit. It just kind of rhymes differently, and people are okay with that because we're okay being just. I don't want to say average because we're worse. Maybe I really think like mediocre. Mediocre is the word I want to use. Fucking amazing. So what happened in computer science, and for the longest time, basically, every single time we try to build something new or we try to create something new, it always gets like some form of like friction and rejection from the communities and all that kind of shit. But what happens is somebody just goes and does it. Doesn't give a fuck. He builds something new, and a few crazy people kind of start using it. And what happens is eventually, like, it starts being noticed, and people start noticing it. And what they effectively do is they start shifting towards it, and what we call it as a term is migrating. It's like you're in one country and you migrate to another country. That's basically it. You're on one software and you migrate to a better one, a different one, a smoother one that fits you, one that makes you feel like you're on top of your own shit. Step by step, step by step, step by step, we kind of get better and better and better and better. So it's designing the code based on everything that we want, because what we're doing intricately is we're designing new systems and sometimes even new languages and new code structures. And there's a software called Unreal Engine, and that's the new software that basically you can't differentiate reality from actual computer graphics anymore. And the reason for that is because they effectively went and they redesigned the entire way that computers consume data. So they restructured the entire way where computers actually, like how computers engage with data and how they engage with the visualization and how they store it in a more interactive way. So it became a lot more efficient for gaming and stuff like, and gamers and like just all kinds of like interactive things you can do on the computer. And what happened effectively is that new system revolutionized, hear me out, revolutionized the way people create games. So games started leveling up. Why? Because they can know we have a new way to actually like play, and we have a new way in order for us to kind of like, we have a different way to do things that would give us better results, basically. Right? Oh, you fell? Up. Go. A different way to give us better results. So they redesigned the code based on what they wanted. Versus, under normal circumstances, people would have designed everything based on the current code. I call it the laziness of intellect. Maybe somebody coined it at one point before or something, I don't know. But like, you know, we all get that feeling every once in a while where we see something that's working, and effectively what we do, and we keep it. We stop doing anything different. We feel good. We feel complacent. And this complacency is simply because, hey, we achieved something when nobody else did, maybe. I don't know if that's how we feel. And society is always talking about improving, but never about changing. Society is always talking about like interacting differently and basically building better, but we're building better on top of what we already have. We're redesigning based on the systems that we already have here. It's not really, for me, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. It looks like we're stuck. It looks like we're going to keep, it's like if you put a baby in a sand pit, he's going to enjoy it the first day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. But then after like 10, 20, 30 years of his life, all he does is play on the sand pit. What the fuck, man? What the hell? Right? And I imagine this is the case. I imagine the case is always like what we're doing is we're taking what already has and we're trying to fix a problem it has. But what about the times where we thought like we can do things differently instead of fixing a problem we already have? Don't we normally do that with ourselves? I mean, most of our issues as human beings are because we try to fix a problem without looking at what caused the problem to begin with. Most of the times, as people, we do not really reflect on why this problem occurred. And when looking at society, the only thing that people invest in is that. The only thing people engage with is that. The only thing people like transact with is that. The world becomes a lot more, I want to say, dim. Because anytime the lights are flickering, instead of looking at why the electricity is not working properly, we add an extra light. It's basically a whole lot of clutter. Which reminds me of a quote by the guy who wrote Little Prince, de Exupéry, Jacques Jean Saint something, de Saint Exupéry. Forgot his fucking name. I have his book there, but I'm not gonna go while I'm shooting the video. But perfection is when you can't take anything anymore out. It's not when you can't add anything any more stuff. It's when you can't remove any more stuff. There's a certain simplicity that we're missing, and there's a certain like logic that we've lost as we keep evolving. And in the early days of computers, they were trying to make sense of how a machine would work with software. Right now, it seems like we forgot that as well in the computer world, except for every once in a while, some random like group would just come up and just change everything. And soon there will be a group that changes everything, I guess, in society. It's some form of community, I guess, that's able to, not I guess, that's how I envision it at least. Some form of community that allows you to just create a neutral ground within the mess that already exists. And from there, just like level up. Hi, my name is Tari, and welcome to the new world. It's a fucking video, isn't it? All right.